okay. I'm here.
Welcome to the Rising Podcast. My name is Cayman. I am here with KaBria. Xavier is out, and we're going to hold down the fort for my guy today. How are you doing today, KaBria?
I'm doing great, but I'm going to be honest with our subscribers. This is the first time I've ever done a podcast without Xavier or with just two of us. So our thoughts and prayers goes out to him and his family. And I'm here, so I guess I'm doing good because I don't have... because everyone in my family is doing well. So
Right.
Yeah, let's say that for right now.
And, I mean, we're just here to talk about a little music.
Yes. I love music.
Right. The Apple Music 100 Best Albums list came out. I mean, we saw it for probably a couple weeks. They were teasing it. I think they did like 10 and 10 and 10
Yeah,
and 10
they were
and 10.
teasing it. And what pissed me off about it is why they teasing it on Apple Music. But when you go to click on it, it got to take you to iTunes. And it was just...
Yeah, it was too much.
It was too much.
Even when I was trying to click it on my computer right now, it's trying to take me to Apple to do this iTunes. I'm like, bruh, just give me the... Anyway.
That's why they get sued. Monopoly.
This has had a lot of backlash in the last couple of days. So what was your initial thoughts on the list when it came out?
I would say, I'm not sure, like, okay, do you know if they do this like every 5 years, every 4 years? Like, when did they do it?
This is the first time for Apple to do it.
Oh, this is the first time that they did it?
This is their first time, yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Like, for me, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of cool because I was like, oh, shoot, let's see kind of what Apple is looking to do. Right, or how they rank the music, because I use Apple Music. I know you have to pay for whatever. SoundCloud, Apple Music, I like it. Spotify, I'm cool off of it, but Spotify is cool. But I like Apple Music, and so I was excited to kind of see how they rank the music because I use it.
Right.
Yeah.
I went directly to who crafted the list.
Okay.
So we have.
That's good.
We have. I thought it had it right here, but it was motherfucking Ebro. It was another couple.
You have to do the background for these people.
I know, I do.
I don't know who these people are.
You don't know who Ebro is? Like the radio nigga? He's in New York. He always got a hat on. I'm going to put a picture of that nigga right here.
Yeah, please do.
Here. But Ebro was a part of it, and I think he was the only hip-hop person out of it. I'm going to just say this. The more I started to look at this list, the more I started to get mad.
Yeah.
When I initially saw this top 10, Miseducation, Thriller, Abbey Road, Purple Rain, Blonde, which is the top 5, which Blonde being in the top 5 is crazy to me too. But just
people
looking at the list,
they
love it. But looking at this list, this shit just start making me mad because it's like you start to look like, where's any other Michael Jackson album? I don't see them. I don't see another Michael Jackson album in this whole motherfucking shit.
I would say, though, when I first looked at the list, because at the end of the day, like, the rollout, I was just like, goodness gracious, roll it out. But also, for me, it was just like, oh, it was giving diverse. Like, it was giving, for me, like, some of the artists they put on there, I was like, okay, I could see it. But some people, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see why they're on that list.
So this is the percentage. This is the percentage of how each genre was kind of in it. This is like the pie.
Love
so
stats.
Hip hop.
Okay.
Is 21% of the whole list, which is the top of any genre. So what did you think about hip hop and how influential hip hop has been in the last 50 years, just in music general? What do you think about that having the most percentage of any genre?
Any genre. Okay, I think it makes sense because I think, again, hip hop is the number one genre in the world right now.
Yeah.
So I feel like that makes sense. Like you can tell by all these other artists kind of coming in and trying to rap and stuff like that from, around the world. So I think for me, I appreciate that. I like that because I think hip hop, when it first, started and rap, it kind of, had some bad first impressions for some people. But to see where we're at today and how many people actually have realize and enjoy like hip hop, I think that's a lot. But I think it also just shows, like, at the end of the day, like the influence of Black culture. Right.
So we're gonna go into the top 10, and then we'll kind of talk about the list in its entirety and what we thought was left out.
Yeah, and who should have been left out? Respectfully, I should pull a whole
number
list
one, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
Personally, maybe my favorite album of all time. If not my favorite album, a top 5 album in my lifetime. So when I saw that it was number 1, I understood it.
Okay.
Starting to kind of hear the commentary, starting to really think about the person Michael Jackson was. I don't know how you don't put that nigga number 1. So that's another thing. So what did you think about the Miseducation being number 1?
For me, I'm not gonna lie. I, of course, was like, oh, Michael Jackson got this, like, hands down. Because of the fact that he just is that type of artist, that type of superstar, that type of, like, megastar that comes once in a million years, where he had everybody across different classes, races, sexes, etc., like really tuned in, really being a fan of his music.
Right.
And so for me, it was kind of shocking that he wasn't number one. But when I had a conversation with my mom, I must admit, and understanding just how much the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is, just how timeless that album is, and how she hasn't really had to make another album because she invested in so much of her life was lived to produce such a great album, that to me, it does make sense. But like, as far as how it was ranked to figure out who would be number one, her or MJ, it was kind of like, oh.
Right.
And not in a bad way. Like, artistically, okay, we can see like how beautiful the story is. Like, every song, you know, she put on there, okay, cool. But just knowing the impact that MJ had is like a whole different like story. And I think that's probably what they were looking at. And that's what kind of threw me off as well. But I feel like, let me back up. When I was looking at the list and trying to understand it, like, I was trying to figure out like, how are you putting some of these albums at a time streaming wasn't available. And the fact that she's still alive, I feel like, and she just went on tour, that was able to boost her numbers up more. She's able to spread her album a lot more than the small time MJ had when he was here, and the impact he had.
Right. And people on social media were saying that they may have picked Lauryn number one because she's still here. Like, they gave her an award. Like, they made this nice video, and it was like, it was a nice thing. And you can't do that if Michael Jackson is not here. You can't do that if Prince is not here. So it's like they wanted to kind of make that statement. And now looking at
everybody in the top 10 should have had something or like brought to a dinner. But she should have been honored and
even the families or whatever too. Looking at this album, Looking at this album though, do you think that, I mean, the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, it's 16 tracks versus Thriller being 9 tracks. Do you think that the length of the album had anything to do with their decision making in that process?
No, I don't think so. I think it just came down to like the essence of like what music should be, and when people make the best music is usually at the time when they've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations. And I think that's kind of what this album kind of was. It was like her story, her touching on something like such a topic that everybody can connect with, and I think that's what made the album. That's why it's number one.
Top 5 album, if not number one. That's a fucking top 5.
Yeah, but like Thriller, like Michael Jackson, like it's not like it was bad, but like, does it move you the same way of hearing her talk about her son, who everyone told her to get an abortion, but she's like, I'm still gonna do this. Her finding about love, her breakup, you know what I'm saying? Like, that stuff is like real life things, and not saying that he didn't have, of course, Michael Jackson had fucking hits for everything, but I don't, like, in comparison, that's where I think, like, I don't know, like,
I personally
you get what I'm saying? I personally
wouldn't say,
you can listen to it.
You're
not gonna be like Thriller, and respectfully, not bad.
Yeah, and it's
but
like,
you're not gonna.
That's not even my favorite Michael Jackson album. I understand Thriller, highest selling album of all time. I understand the impact Thriller had. I understand the headspace that Mike was in at that time. Like, he's just coming off the wall, if I'm not mistaken. If that's he came coming off the wall, and niggas were still trying to put Mike in this R&B soul category where he was like, I don't just want to be remembered as an R&B, and so don't just box me into this main genre. So for Mike to come in and create this masterpiece for what Thriller was, it was like that literally solidified and put Michael Jackson to the number one spot where nigga, he's not looking behind anybody. Like, he's that nigga. So I get it, Apple. I get it.
Yeah, but I think it was like, it's arguments for both. I'm not gonna lie, but I think her, like we said, her being alive, I think played a role in it. Her still being able to promote her music, and it's so timeless, played a role in it. Like, she's eating off of one album, and then also I think her son, his popularity also helps her.
The Marley kid.
Yeah. Because I ain't gonna lie, because I was like, okay, and then bringing
what's
each
his
other
name?
out.
Bob. It's not.
No,
it's the one that did the song with her. Is it the one that did Slow Down with her?
It's her.
I was about to say Bob. Like, that's not.
No.
The Bob
YG
Marley.
Marley.
YG Marley. Okay.
Yeah,
okay. Shout out to YG Marley.
And
shout
I
out
think
to
that
Lauryn
helps.
Hill.
Yeah, I think that helps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I feel like her album's just timeless in that regards, like telling the story, whatever. And I think Thriller's timeless in like the hits that he was able to bring. But I'm like, when you're sad, like, his music is more like upbeat, and nothing's wrong with that. Like, and that's good music, but I'm saying, like, as far as like, damn, I'm gonna listen to like a good album, someone poured all their whole soul, like told their whole story. I think that's where I can see where she was able to get the win compared to like of course they're timeless, but it's like entertainment. Hers is like my pain is like a lesson. You know what I'm saying?
1000%.
It's not here for entertainment. Well, you know, music, whatever. But I think that's also the difference is like the purpose behind each album. I think was also taken into consideration and what we see as music today.
Right. Also, the people on social media are talking about this album wasn't that good, or
what?
People are saying Miseducation is overrated.
Did they listen to it?
There's some people that were on Twitter like, okay, let me listen to this album and be like, wow, I can understand now. But people have always been with the narrative that if an album gets too much praise or anything of that nature, they're going to say it's overrated. They just want to be on that side. I'm not understanding how anybody that has actually listened to the Miseducation from front to back is telling me that that's an overrated album.
Right. I agree. She needs her flowers. I mean, glad that she's getting it. And then also with mental health and stuff. So maybe it was a statement, you know, because I do feel as if certain people who was on the list did not need to be on the list again, but I would never question like that Lauryn Hill shouldn't have been in the top 5 as you mentioned. Yeah. But I mean, I ain't gonna lie, some of the let's go through the top 10 real quick.
So you got Miseducation, we had Thriller, Abbey Road, The Beatles, which I can agree that should be a top 5. You look at the track list, you look at some of the songs on there.
Okay. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I don't know.
If you don't believe it, say it.
I'm about to listen to it. No, not that I don't, but I feel like that's also the beauty of this list because it's like, oh, what? And it's like open you up, understanding who played an influence on you. You know what I'm saying? Your childhood. The Beatles, I ain't gonna lie, my parents wasn't listening to motherfucking Beatles.
Oh, 1000%. And my parents weren't either, but if you go to that album, you play the fucking first song of the Beatles, it's something that you've heard on a commercial. It's something that you've heard in movies. It's something. So when I say impact in that way, the Beatles and that Abbey Road album has had that impact long lasting throughout the time that it came out.
Yeah,
so
I want to listen to it.
That's why I would say that.
I want to listen to it.
Yeah, you would know. Yeah. You would know probably 3 or 4 songs on that without even understanding or knowing who the Beatles are ever listening to them niggas.
Right, I know who the Beatles are and I like them. I think it's just at the time, and I think we had this argument before, and not saying that they weren't able to do this. When we think of like an artist and the greatest artist of all time, to me that also plays a role is that your fan base spans like different
generations and groups.
And so for me, that's where with the Beatles, I'm gonna listen to it, you know, and figure out like, okay, I do know this, I do know that. So I don't want to speak too much of it, but I'm just saying in my household, Beatles wasn't
played. Mine either. Number 4, Purple Rain, Prince. 1000%. Prince is a musical genius, so nobody's ever going to disagree with that. Number 5 is where we're going to start having problems, and it's going to start being Apple influence a little bit. Blonde being the number 5th album of all time in the history of music. You're telling me that Frank Ocean's Blonde, and I'm a Frank Ocean. We've had that conversation.
Yeah, we have.
Many times on this podcast about
Frank
Ocean.
So to hear that is shocking.
I don't think I think it should be a top. It should be a top 100 album. It shouldn't be in the top 5.
It shouldn't be top 5. It just makes me want to re-listen to it.
Yeah.
It makes me want to re-listen to it because, like, you know. But I mean,
some people are saying Chanel Orange, which had Thinking About You on there and shit like that. That was his best album. So how do y'all put that over Blonde? Album. I may slightly prefer Blonde over that, but I mean, I don't know. It's hard.
Pyramids? That's on Chanel.
That's on Chanel. Yes.
Oh,
Pyramids
wow.
is on Chanel as well.
So now I gotta look up.
They got hits. She got hits on fucking on Chanel Orange.
Okay.
Number 6, Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. I think that this should have made the top 5. They should have switched the Frank Ocean and the Stevie, because how you gonna put like this
his influence?
This album, I don't. This has influenced so many people that came after Stevie, and that's why I wanted to make sure that this album gets the credit, because not only is it good, incredible, as is one of my favorite songs ever made in the history of listening to music. Okay. You got to be in the top 5. You got to be in the top 5. So just
switch those two.
Okay. Number 7. I know Xavier had a lot to say about this, and I'm looking forward to having that conversation with him in a future notice. Is Good Kid, Mad City, when you're talking about a rap album, is that the rap album that we're going to put in the top 10? Is that the greatest rap album of all time? Because this is the highest ranked rap album. What do you think about Good Kid? What do you think about Good Kid, Mad City being so high, number 7?
I feel as if the reason they probably ranked it so high and where it's at when it comes to rap is because I think at the time, and I said Goldie, but it was Long Live ASAP, and I remember Kendrick Lamar came out with with his album, you feel me, and No, 2014. No,
this is around 2011, 2012.
Yeah, because 2014 came out later. So for me, I feel like it was a very good introduction to Kendrick and his legacy and what he was going to carry on with rap music, and he was able to hook so many people on. That's why I think they put it in the top. That's my opinion. Like, it was a very safe album to say nobody will, if you were offended or whatever, but a lot of people like that album. His other ones, I think, became too cultural for certain groups, and that's where I don't think he was able to get someone to critique it in a room when there's not a majority of people of color.
That's true.
And that's my opinion of it, because I think I still listen to Good Kid, Mad City, you know, Real, Money Trees, Poetic Justice, still listen to those to this day. So for me, I appreciate for this to be what, because he had Section 80. So
yeah,
this was
Section
his
80, that was his like a mixtape type project, and this was his first really debut album.
Right. And it came out hot. That's what I think. It came out really good, and I think that's why they put it. Like, okay, this puts him on the map. Now, The Pimp Butterfly, Messing Around, okay, I don't think I would consider it respectfully. Like, it's a good album. I don't think that would be considered, because that was a deeper type of rap than where I think rap is today. So it's just great album, wrong generation. But I feel as if it's up there. I mean, damn was up there too. Well, I think it's up there because it's hard to pick with Kendrick. Maybe that's their issue. They couldn't just sit here. Okay, we're gonna put all three of his albums.
And that's the point.
Maybe that was the issue.
They have to be they have to be honest, and this is where I was starting to be like, damn, you gotta damn near throw this whole list away, because then you go from Good Kid, Mad City to Back to Black with Amy Winehouse, and I understand the impact Amy Winehouse had.
Yes,
she was great. She was a talented artist, but I really feel like the problems she went through and her early death and things of that nature has made, like, that happens with people. They become more popular after they die, unfortunately.
But her music was really good, though.
Really good, but a top 10 album of all time?
Top 10? I don't know. And that's also where I'm like, I wonder, because you know her biography's coming out, and the way of the timing was very interesting. And then also to know that she's influenced by other, like, black artists, soulful artists, and for them not to be listed before her is a little questionable, in my opinion.
Nirvana, Nevermind.
Oh, okay. I know Nirvana.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't grow up I didn't grow up with Nirvana either, but going to that album and listening to some of those tracks, I've heard those tracks dozens and dozens and dozens of times. And if you're able to get a nigga like me from the Bay that didn't grow up on any of this rock shit as far as with the Beatles, with what Nirvana is doing, and respect to them and to those genres, because guess what? Everything is black created around this motherfucker.
Yeah, It Smells Like Teen Spirit. Yeah, I know them. So there was a lot of movies, I think. They also featured.
But to have that impact, I will say that you guys are a top 10 album. Now this might be a little, and Beehive, don't come after me. Lemonade being a top 10 album of all time?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
What?
Yes. Lemonade, by far, in my opinion, and where Beyonce has been, like, besides Beyonce, Lemonade is my favorite project by her. Like, and I take that up. Cowboy Carter, Renaissance, respectfully, I would go back in time to go watch her for Lemonade and for Beyonce.
It was a good time.
It's a great album.
But was that her best work?
Her best work, I think it was up there for sure. It's basically, Lemonade is the album that basically started Renaissance, and it started Cowboy Carter. This is her next transition. I feel like Beyonce, like the way that she has grown as an artist that a lot of them can't, she's always topping herself. And I think Lemonade just came at a time, which we're just talking about the #1 album, where she had so many issues, so many things that she had to face with her marriage, with herself, with being a mom, you know, with trying to grow as a woman now in this new stage of her life, that I think Lemonade was her beautiful creation out of, like, all the pain that she's been through. But again, I think Lemonade would have hit so much harder, and I mean, everyone's been saying that, as if she would have left Jay-Z, because then Lemonade would have been her, like, boom, like, biggest, like, album, I think, just off of that alone. But the fact that she stayed with him, that's where I think the album was like, because you have this whole breakup,
right? And you're
kind
talking
of
about
album.
It a lot, right? On this album,
and then you go right back with.
And we just had the Solange Jay-Z
elevator
footage, like a couple years before this album came out. So I mean, it was a lot. And when Lemonade came out, like, it had some cultural impact.
Formation, boy, Lemonade has hits. Yes, Lemonade has
hits. Formation. I love that Freedom song with Kendrick Lamar.
Pray You Catch Me. Everything. And then Daddy Lessons, that was her country, into country, and then they kicked her off, or they didn't show her 6-inch with The Weeknd. Oh my gosh.
But you do understand
Love Drought, Sandcastles.
You do understand that she released this in 2016. And guess what?
Blonde was released.
Yeah, those two were not the biggest albums of that year. If I remember correctly, The Life of Pablo had a lot of motherfucking impact. Views with Drake had a lot of impact.
Oh, it was Views.
And maybe, I don't know, that's
you
Queen
don't know.
B.
You don't
that's
know.
Queen B,
you don't know. That's why.
Kanye and Drake had her influence that year, is what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying with that, but I feel like also at Lemonade, this is where we saw Beyonce transcend what other pop stars can never do, and disrespect completely to Taylor Swift. This was when she had a visual. This is when she started. Right. And then also I think why it's like so big is because it came out when everybody was on hush. Like you didn't even know Beyonce was working on this. And then for her to drop it.
Just drop it. It was a surprise drop, right?
Yeah.
No promo, nothing.
I don't think it was any of that. And so for her to drop it, and then for like the first of all, the songs, just great. The messages, just great. Woman empowerment, all of this, just great. And then the videos for each one, her going back to her hometown, her like reflecting on her becoming Beyonce. I'm sorry. It's up there. It's one of the best albums, I would say, of all time. And I mean, I guess your point, number 10. Again, as the artist, I think she's up there. As an artist and the impact on her fan base, yeah. And that's why, for me, it was just shocking, who was left off of this.
Mm-hmm. What,
And I still was eliminated today. I would say that. What?
Dang, top 10. Yeah. What do you think about this? I think that we have at least 10 years to judge an album and put it in like its rightful ranking, but at least give that time of like a 10-year span to like make sure that album is actually what everybody is saying it is. What do you think about that? Or do you think you can tell right off that an album is a classic? How long?
I think you could tell sometimes right off. And only reason I say that is because you have certain people that just have that from the jump, and they put out that quality from the start of their career. And I think that just goes to show you just like how influential they are when they dropped. You know what I'm saying? Like Good Kid, Mad City. Okay, niggas gotta go harder. Beyonce, when she dropped her self-titled album, people need to go harder. The pop girlies need to go harder. And then I think, who else? Like I said, just certain people, their drop alone, I think people can tell, like, okay, they're gonna be great.
I'm glad that you
know
almost,
what I'm saying?
It rolled off your tongue, KaBria.
Yeah.
So, we went through the top 10.
Yes, we
gave our opinions. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole damn list with you.
Who was left off. We just have to think, like,
who was left off?
Yeah,
I
who
would
was left
say,
off?
and I'm going to try to
We'll go
pull
back
up
and forth. Let's go.
So, go ahead and say your girl, Nikki, first.
Yeah.
You want to explain why you think that she should be?
I am so, like, pissed off. And I don't give a fuck. I am upset that they were literally in that room, and when they thought about Young Money fucking Cash Money and who should get a fucking spot on the top 100 list, they chose this nigga Drake, not only over Lil Wayne, but also Nicki Minaj, which to me is bizarre. And only reason I'm saying it's bizarre that Nicki wasn't included. Lil Wayne, yeah, we get it. Like he did have some issues with the time where he should have been dropping. Lil Wayne should have been a much bigger star than what he is because he had issues with Birdman and his contract and stuff like that. We get that. Like that was a very messy situation that really did impact Lil Wayne's, I would say, potential of his career, but it doesn't impact what he has done for the culture and what he's done for rap. Because Lil Wayne, just alone, like I'm just shocked. That shit pissed me off too. But Nicki Minaj, if you're talking about Beyonce has 2 albums on this fucking list, Taylor Swift has 1 album on this, and who in the rap world has the same goddamn fans, the same people? I mean, Rihanna's on this list, the same fans that she's had since she's came out, and she continued to grow, and she's doing fucking sold out tours, not only in the United States, but now she's in a fucking different country in Europe doing a fucking international tour, and you don't even think to put one motherfucking Nicki Minaj album on this list?
So what's the Nicki Minaj album that you would put on this list?
So when I was thinking about that, I was thinking, okay, at first I'm like, oh, the Pink Print. But then I was thinking about it some more. And I was like, no, Pink Friday should be the album that they put on this list. Because Pink Friday had hits, back to back to back hits. Yes, the Pink Print did have Moment for Life and whatnot, but Pink Friday is really where Nicki Minaj was able to come up, have her different personalities, able to really click with the girlies. She just released Pink Friday 2 just because of how impactful everybody knows that Pink Friday was. The fact that it just lost. It was beyond me.
And this is another thing.
And let me see. Moment for Life is on this one. Okay, cool.
This is another thing I wanted to say about impact, because like how I was saying with the Beatles and Nirvana, even though Nicki Minaj is part of the rap culture, and we knew of Nicki Minaj, I mean, what she did on the Monsterverse and things like that. Like, when Pink Friday dropped, you couldn't escape it. And as somebody who wasn't a Nicki Minaj fan or who didn't listen to that, if I understand and know staple songs off that album, it has to be included in the top 100. That's all. Can this artist impact people outside of their own fucking fans? Right. And Nicki Minaj did that with this.
She does that. She continues to do that. And that's what the thing that threw me off. And that's why I just feel like with Nicki, only thing with Nicki, obviously with her husband, that was a very questionable marriage because of obviously his issues and, you know, his very much like spent time in jail and stuff for that. And she's been problematic. I get all that, but also I feel like it just continues to show like what Nicki has been saying and what I've been saying forever is that there's a lot of people in the industry who don't want to give her flowers.
1,000%.
And it's just crazy because then every fucking news cycle or news whatever called paper was talking about how Taylor Swift's selling on her shows, how Beyonce's selling on shows, but you don't hear anything about Nicki
Minaj.
You don't hear any promotions, no nothing, but she's coming out
a lot of records.
sold out, and I think that just further says like what she's been saying, which is like there's people who really want to get her out that spot, and they're trying to replace her with a lot of people who could never keep up with her like at all, period. Like they need to just stay at home. Like for real, respectfully. So, and I'm saying that I know I'm talking about Cardi B. Like I love you, Cardi, but for you to ever think that you would have the same impact as Nicki Minaj and not know Drake impact, but a Kendrick impact is beyond me.
Yeah. So this is where it starts to get like I was saying,
beyond
throw the whole list
me.
Away. So To Pimp a Butterfly didn't make this list.
Right.
I'm looking at it right now. To Pimp a Butterfly, for a Kendrick fan that I am, heavy hardcore Kendrick fan. That's my favorite Kendrick Lamar album. I can understand the people who don't understand it. And like you were saying,
I think that played a role.
1,000%. Like you were saying, the people who curated and created this list didn't live the experiences that we may have lived. My only concern in this whole thing, like when you started to listen to Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick had elements that you literally didn't hear in rap. For Free is damn near a jazz song. Like the saxophones, the jazz music. He has Thundercat playing. He has the Legend from the Funkadelics on this album. Like the sound of the album, I don't know how you don't say that's not a top 100 album of all time. That's literally crazy to me. Just based on the sound, we didn't hear rappers rap like how To Pimp a Butterfly was curated in the style. I don't even understand how that couldn't be included. That's really fucking wild to me.
No, talk your shit because you know how I feel about another album that should have been included.
What's
I mean, To Pimp a Butterfly, but you also have to think about like at that time when it came out, and like first of all, Kendrick just being the artist that he is, of not only I'm not giving the fans what they want, I'm giving the music what what my soul wants to give. That already puts him in a different bracket because he's just not putting out music because his fans want it. He's putting out music when, he needs to have a message or he wants to say something when every album, he took the time and he thought, planned it out, whatever. And I think To Pimp a Butterfly just had so much poor backlash because that was an album that made so many people uncomfortable that they weren't able to see the message and the true vision behind it. And I think that's why it was probably left off, because they didn't want to be seen as probably more radical or whatever. I think they were trying to be more as diverse but not do as much, because I think it's also crazy that Kanye West, he has
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which was like 25, but he doesn't have Graduation on there. How does Graduation not make a top 100 albums list? Like, what are we doing right now? Graduation?
I think they just want to give him 2. That's the thing. Now Beyonce is what? She has 2. And a few people have too.
Kanye deserves 6 slots on this list.
I mean, Kanye deserves. I mean, we all know that, but I'm just saying, Kanye been wilding. I'm glad that he got her. I'm assuming that might have been Kris Jenner. I'm gonna be honest with you. She probably was like, "Y'all gotta put my dude on the list."
That's true.
Because I don't think he would have got it. And they only probably gave it to him because they're like, we don't want to get in trouble. That's
this album I have on the wall right here. It's called Baduism. Erykah Badu. Mm-hmm. It didn't make the list.
Nope.
What do you think about that? She did have a album on the actual list.
Yeah, she did. She had
but how
the one before this one, right?
The one before this one that had On and On it and stuff like that. Oh,
that's
Baduism. This is Mama's Gun that didn't make the list. So that was my bad.
So
Mama's
that's Bag
Gun,
Lady and like
yes, it's
Apples
Didn't You Know? Bag Lady.
Apple Tree.
Yeah. Okay. Clever is one of my favorite Erykah Badu songs ever.
But
so
again,
that's kind of like but that goes to who's curating this fucking list,
right? To who's curating it, but also I think Baduism, if I'm saying that correctly, that was the album that she said that she made, and she did that for her son, and so it had a lot of those beats and music. Like again, it was a time in her life that produced the album, so that makes sense why she would get that.
Some other ones, later. College Dropout, Kanye again, but we're not going to talk about him. The Roots didn't make the list.
Oof.
Things Fall Apart, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. I don't know how that. Be by Common, which I think that's a great album that should have made the list. Reasonable Doubt by Jay-Z. So there was some shit on there that didn't fucking. Mobb Deep didn't make the list. Like, what are we doing? What the fuck are we doing?
What are we doing? And I'm trying to get the whole list up.
Do you want to? Do you want to talk about your
of course
light-skinned brother?
I just think it's unfair.
Why?
I just think it's unfair, and I think at the end of the day, the fact that Take Care made that list at 47?
Does it not deserve to be on there?
Take Care deserves to be on there.
Okay.
Good Kid, Mad City deserves to be on there, but I still think 2014 Forest Hill Drive deserves to be on there as well, because at the end of the day, when you're talking about an album that somebody is known for, and technically speaking, if he wanted to pull a Cardi B, a poor Miss Lauryn Hill or whatnot, and just fucking make money off of one album. Granted, it was the album that he has admitted that, he didn't want to make that type of music anymore. So his next projects were a lot more deeper. But as far as an album that everybody knows and everybody respects, in my opinion, 2014 Forest Hill Drive not being on there was just shock. And you can't sit here and be like, oh, it's a big three. You guys are fucking with this whole little argument anyway. Y'all mad at him for not being a part of this whole debate or this whole fucking fight between Drake and Kendrick, and then to sit there and not say he deserves to have an album on that list is just crazy to me. Born Sinner is up there too, and I thought that was a great album too, but if we're talking about popularity, songs that everybody loves, that was also an album that was talking about him like coming to, I don't know, not
coming
to
into his own.
Yeah,
basically.
his own, like being a man or whatever. I think 2014 Forest Hill Drive should have been on that list, and I'm surprised that not one J. Cole album was on that list. Quite frankly, and it pissed me off. And the reason it pissed me off is, again, you put them together. What, Drake, and every time you heard Kendrick, you always thought about J. Cole. And then when you heard about fucking Drake and J. Cole just been doing their thing, going on tour, doing songs. J. Cole's hopping on everybody's album, rapping and shit like that. And to sit here and not give him his flowers is just like crazy to me. And that's why I'm like, whoever put this list together, really, like, I was shocked. I was taken off because 2014 Forest Hill Drive, and he produced. First of all, J. Cole makes. He already told you what he's done. He makes his own beats, writes his own shit. He produced his own, like, his entire album by himself.
No features on this.
Yeah, and I think it's solid. Like Love Yours, Wet Dreams, motherfucking January 28th.
No Role Models, apparently.
Yes.
Love Yours.
All of those to me are hits, and like people like what?
03 Adolescence.
I'm playing intro shit. I be listening to that too when I be like trying to be all positive and stuff like that.
It's so hard with him now, KaBria.
It's not. It doesn't have to be that hard. Like, to me, like, oh, why is it so hard? Somebody who you guys thought. That's the thing. What I'm trying to say. It's like, oh, everyone's like, oh, he should have stayed in. He should have stayed in. And for this list to come out, and for them just to completely leave him off the list, it's like definitely there's a disconnect from what everybody was saying and what this list is fucking saying right now. Because not everybody would be that mad if J. Cole dropped off. The same way people were like, who gives a fuck about Big Sean. Like, okay, we see why Big Sean didn't make the list, but everybody was really upset that J. Cole wasn't fucking participating in this beef. And then for him not to be on this list when he's compared to be a GOAT in the top 3 is just beyond fucking me. And to put Drake up there, and then at that, Drake, should be a fucking lesson. Only one of your fucking 20 albums made it on this fucking list. Like, do better, respectfully. Like, we need more quality content. We need that old Drake. Like, for them to take care, and you have like
hella albums.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you making all this money. You need to make these money and get these people in the studio who's gonna make you a fucking timeless ass, fucking classic ass album. Right. That's what they need.
You know, if you would have asked me, if you would have asked me pre April 7th, 2024, and that was a big day in J. Cole's career. If you would have asked me pre that, there's a couple albums like the Aliens come down and they're like, teach me about hip hop. Like, put me onto some of the albums. Or Tupac came back from the dead and was like, give me 2-3 albums. J. Cole's 2014 Forest Hills Drive would probably be the one that I would give to them. Like, as far as being from front to the bottom,
it's solid.
That's a classic album, and I have to give J. Cole his flowers for that. He does just deserve to be on the top 100.
He does.
It's just hard now after a nigga was saying, he was saying he was the greatest rapper of all time. Now, obviously, you don't believe that, J. Cole.
He does. I don't have to explain it anymore. What he felt like. I just felt as if, once again, the beef with Kendrick and Drake wasn't just hip-hop beef. It wasn't just, let's rap. It wasn't a beef of talent. It was a beef of, I really don't fuck with you, nigga. That's what the beef was. It was a really like, we gonna disguise it as if, we're just doing some playful stuff, but really I'm taking shots everywhere. He said headshot. This was like, I'm coming for your life. This isn't no playful, I like how he spent that.
I mean, I love Euphoria, that verse. He did say this is a friendly fade. So
no.
Drake took it there. On Family Matters. Okay. And it didn't have to go like that with J. Cole and Kendrick. But that, we're going to have that conversation for the next 30 years.
Yeah, we will.
About that.
I'm glad he did. I'm glad he wasn't in it. I'm glad he's not beefing with a lot of people. I'm glad that he's very unproblematic.
Yeah, one more. I feel Music Soul Child. I just want to say this before we wrap up. Music Soul Child's first album should be on there. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a top 100 album of all time. They've left a lot of shit off.
They did.
But I do like lists like this because My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy being number 26 is insane. I do like lists like this because it does generate conversation. It does make you go back and start to listen to some certain things maybe that you didn't listen to before at all or that you don't remember. So I did appreciate just having this list. But Taylor Swift at number 18 is crazy to me.
I think everything with Taylor Swift was crazy to me. Yeah. I was like, I can't. The Carter 3. That's what should have been on there.
Carter 3 or Carter 2 for me. Carter 2 is him rapping better, but Carter 3 is the hits for me.
Yeah. He should have been out there.
One of them, like you said, Lil Wayne should be on that list.
Nicki Minaj should have been on that list.
J. Cole should have been on that list. Kanye should have been on the list a billion times.
Wasn't she not on the list?
Whitney was on the list, but I think she was like way down here. Mariah Carey, I don't know if Mariah Carey was on here.
Yeah, because I have to list of Mariah Carey is kind of crazy. You listing like Christina Aguilera. I do love Adele. I'm so glad she's on the list.
But she don't need to be on the top 15.
I love, Adele. Stop it. Adele vocals, her character, who she is always just timeless. She's classy. She just, she deserves her flowers.
And she can sing her by Usher being 95.
I was surprised that fucking 50 was on that album too. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I do like what is it? Mini Man? Is that his?
Yeah, Get Rich or Die Trying. That was number 8 too.
That's a hit for sure. I ain't gonna lie, but I was surprised how ranking. I just feel like who shouldn't have been on that list.
Travis Scott. What do you think about this? 1000%.
Travis Scott. I'm surprised they even put you on that motherfucking list.
I told y'all.
They didn't even put Future or Young Thug on the list.
I told y'all about SZA. I told y'all that she was a pop star. She's on this list.
SOS, okay. I'm not saying like you said, like with SZA and her music, and because then if they put SZA on the list, the only thing that's questionable to me about that is that I would want Summer Walker on that list because Summer Walker could really fucking sing.
Well, I do think that she has a top 10 R&B album of all time. That's my own opinion. Summer Walker does have that with her
compared
first
to SZA though, I think SZA has more popular songs. People like SZA more, but as far as who am I gonna call to sing and like save my life? I don't think I'm calling SZA.
Oh, that's hard.
I'm not calling SZA. I'm calling Summer.
They both have great catalogs.
But I get that. But I'm saying as far as talent and music, but Summer, she is a little, personality. I get that.
I probably listen to more Summer than SZA though.
But I'm just saying, as far as who really sings their ass off on their fucking songs and in person, I mean, I haven't been to a SZA concert, so I'll take that. I don't want to say too much, but I'm just saying, when I heard Summer in person, I literally was like, what the fuck? Like, she sounded that good. Like, ridiculously good. And that's all I'm saying. Like, who else? I think, who else could have been left out? I mean, I feel like Billie Eilish, I did like her debut album. I'm not going to lie. I did like it. I feel like it was different, for sure.
They just had to fit too many people in. Then do a fucking 150 list. Don't just leave... I just can't. You can't leave Kanye's, or Kendrick's, or J. Cole's work off of this. I'm sorry. I'm trying
to think. But yeah, I definitely think. Let's see.
Rihanna Anti.
But I don't think it should have been 30. Billie Eilish. I don't think she should have been 30.
Yeah, it's a little. I mean,
I'm gonna say that right now.
For what Straight Outta Compton did, that's basically how we don't have NWA above 70. And the impact that they had, I'm just... But, hey, this is Apple Music's, and we're going to make our own Blam list one day.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah, but it's going to take a lot to curate... It's going to take a lot to curate a top 100 list like this.
Yeah, it definitely would. I mean, Lord, I was thinking about her album, too. Like, she had the Royal, and that was a hit. That was a hit for sure. Everybody loved that song, but... maybe that's why. Maybe the first 50 are you have to have 2 or 3 hits that everybody just loves so much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And for the Beatles, Prince, Stevie Wonder, Beyonce, Radiohead, and Dr. Dre to have 2 albums and not Michael Jackson be included in that list, that's fucking disrespectful too.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else more on this list? So we're gonna wrap it up right here.
Wrapping it up. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Boom.
Shout out to all these artists. They are all great artists, but this list needs some fucking work.
It does. But it's their first time that they did it. And you know what? Conspiracy, if we're wrapping it up, maybe the Apple Music, don't they already have their Apple Music Awards or whatever?
I don't know if they have an award show necessarily.
They do the live
something. I don't fucking know.
Maybe they're trying to transition to doing something of that sort.
Maybe
that would be nice.
Has some up their sleeve. No, it wouldn't, because it's gonna just be another. They're just gonna take over. This is black music, bro.
I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying.
We're gonna have another award show that's not in tune with the culture.
We needed the BET Awards to be up there with the Grammys and stuff like that.
We can only hope and pray, but niggas want to.
That is crazy. If all the top artists are black, why are we not?
Yeah, different conversation.
Yeah,
for another day.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for joining and tuning in to another edition of The Rising. I'm Cayman. That's KaBria.
Yes.
We'll see y'all later.